Do you want to move it? We can see Jason again.
He's gonna have to move up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's moving.
Okay, thank you.
Good?
Yes. we're done.
We can all rise and say the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and call our meeting to order. If we get a roll call, Kathleen?
Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Joe Wendling.
Yes.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
Kathleen Smith. Yes.
Do we have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening?
No one did.
Okay. So we will go ahead and move on to the financial report with Mr. Fox.
Okay, financials for May and June. We ended with a fund balance of $26,612,439.76. Operating funds totaled $18,320,223.53. And our HLS funds are $6,205,587.31. Fund balances began on page 4 of your packet. Revenues last month in the education fund locally, we received $251,297.96. From the state, we received $593,649.15. And from federal government, we received $44,206.04. And those show up on page 13 of your packet. Expenses over $5,000 are broken out separately, beginning on page 14 of your packet. And the recommendations for this month would be to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $147.47, as indicated on page 18. And the payment of bills in the amount of $920,314.10, of which $42,337.41 were HLS expenses. And those bills begin on page 20 of your packet.
Are there any questions for Mr. Fox?
I got a question. The Regional Office of Education Workshop for St. Louis, that code
Yes.
for,
I believe that was a teacher evaluation as part of his administrative academy.
twice, he had to go for that.
No, he only went once.
I thought I saw him twice. And I don't remember seeing earthquake insurance before.
We've always had earthquake insurance. It's a separate umbrella policy and we'll talk about it more later, but it's a separate umbrella policy because earthquake insurance is not in the regular policy for this area.
What is Midland States Bank main merchant fees?
I'm not sure, but I can check on it for you. I'll check on it and send you an email.
Is that okay? I've got a couple too if you're done. Is that
Yeah, go
okay?
ahead.
Okay, I just wanted some clarification on what this was for. There were a couple of tech ones on there that just said tech all. One was to eBay for $16.97. Is that, and then I saw another one was for cable tech all. I didn't know if those were both for cabling. I knew it said something about having cable at the junior high, but there was one to eBay and it just said tech.
Was that on the
all,
credit card
1,000.
bill?
It was a credit card bill, yes.
Let me look and see if I can.
It was for $1,697.40. I was just curious what it was.
That's going to all the buildings. So my guess, because it's broken out to all the buildings, so it'll be split up among them. So I'm guessing that has to do with the migration. So the Active Directory migration, but I can find out for
Okay,
sure.
so that's what tech all means. It means it's going to all the
If it
buildings.
says all, it's being, that amount is going to be broken down
Okay,
by student attendance to all the buildings when we do site-based.
okay.
So that's what all means, yes.
Okay, and the other one was the what is Frontline Technologies? It says FY21 absence management, 13,000.
That's ASOP. So that would be our sub tracking. So absent management, ASOP sends out messages. So a teacher goes in online and puts in their they need to be gone sick. Absent management then sends out a message to all of our subs and says, does anybody want
Oh,
this?
okay.
And then they sign up to that. And then once they sign up and do the job, the secretary goes in and confirms it, which then tells Sandy here to go ahead and pay it. So that's that whole system.
I just didn't know what absence management was
Yeah.
there. And the other one I saw was all the bills for mowing. So we outsource our mowing.
Of all around all the schools. The only place that we mow is the sports complex. So Jerry Harmon has done all the schools for probably, well, as long as I've been in
I
the
guess I
district.
just always
13
thought
to
our
15
maintenance people
years.
did it. I didn't realize we
You
outsourced
usually
it.
do weeds and things too.
Yeah, he weed eats. And he and I had a conversation today. So yes, but yeah, he weed eats, and then our maintenance guys do all the spraying. So yeah.
Yeah, the only area that is the sports complex that our staff does.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd have to hire probably a couple people, I would think.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be seasonal. But yeah, we've done that for what, 12, 15 years at least?
As long as I can remember Jerry's
I
mowing
just
for
didn't,
us.
I guess I always saw the people on the mowers. I thought they were just our regular employees.
We've always had our people take care of the sports complex because every coach wants a different height and something done different, but we've not done the other areas. So
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we would need a motion to approve the financial report to include reimbursing the interest account in the amount of $147.47 and the payment of bills in the amount of $920,314.10.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Steve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Robin. Roll call.
Angie Byers,
Yes.
Robin Klosterman,
Yes.
Brad Waldoff. Oh, he's not here. Joe Wendling,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes, Steve Bone.
Yes.
Going ahead and moving on to the consent agenda, we had minutes in there from a technology committee meeting on May 11th, facilities and transportation meeting on May 15th, a regular board meeting on May 18th, a special board meeting on May 26th, and a curriculum meeting on June 4th. And we had a couple of fundraisers from the ELC PTO, Scholastic Book Fair from October to March. They're going to sell spiritware from August to May, and they're going to sell student art pieces from February to April of 2021. The Unit 48 Library Services Report is enclosed. Were there any questions on any of those? Okay, and hearing none, we would need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kathleen. Do we have a second? I'll second. Roll call.
Robin Klosterman,
Yes.
Joe Wendling,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes, Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes. Okay, we have quite a few correspondence that was sent in. One is thank you for the flowers, the pass, and the paver. I certainly appreciate them. Sincerely, Jenny. I'm assuming that's Jenny Frichtel. Thank you so much for the beautiful plants, the paver, and the pass for my retirement. I have had many wonderful years teaching here in Unit 40 and will miss the wonderful staff and my many students. Thank you for giving me an amazing place to spend my career. I will treasure my time spent here always. Thank you for the memories. Jamie Jennings. Thank you for the beautiful hanging basket of flowers, the lifetime pass to ball games, and the brick paver. The paver is most special to me, and I am honored to have it placed at EHS. Thank you for all of your support and recognition. Linda Richards. Thank you for the Save a Lot gift card. It was unexpected, but very much appreciated. I hope all of you and your families continue to stay safe. Sincerely, Deb Spence. I would like to thank you for the gift card to Save a Lot. Your thoughtfulness is greatly appreciated. Your gratitude means a lot. Sandy Lohman. Thank you so much for the Save a Lot gift card. It was a thoughtful gesture and truly appreciated. Sherry Martin. Thank you very much for the gift card to Save a Lot. I greatly appreciate your thoughtfulness. Sincerely, Angela Denoyer. Thank you so much for the gift card. Your kindness is very much appreciated. I am thankful for all of your hard work and dedication to Unit 40 as well. Jennifer Jones. Thank you so much for the Save a Lot gift card. That was a very thoughtful gift during this time. We'll be glad to be back to normal. Thank you. I appreciate all of you and all you are doing during this time. Glad everyone is staying on task. Kathy Peters. I just wanted to tell all of you that I appreciate the gift card. That was a very kind gesture, and I wanted to let you know I am so grateful. Kayla Cordes. Just wanted to thank you for the gift card. Pam Baker. Joe and I would like to express our sincere gratitude for the gift certificates to Save a Lot. We appreciate your thoughtfulness. Thank you for all you do to support and encourage the students, their families, and our staff. Sincerely, Joe and Darlene Fothery. Thank you so much for your generous gift of a $20 gift card to Save a Lot. What a blessing to be able to use this amount for needed items for my family. I appreciate your kindness during such a difficult time. I hope you are able to enjoy a peaceful and more relaxed summer with your loved ones. May you each be healthy, safe, strong, and courageous. Take care. Marina and Doug Zeri. The members of the EESPA would like to thank you very much for the Save a Lot gift cards. Many of us have been volunteering with the lunch program, distant learning packets, and appreciate your thoughtfulness, the EESPA team. Thank you very much for the unexpected but much appreciated gift card to Save a Lot. Your thoughtfulness towards employees of the school district is certainly recognized. More importantly, too, however, I want to express my gratitude for your decision to continue paying us through the COVID-19 crisis. Through my eyes, this action was a decision filled with grace and mercy, which directly affected the livelihood of our family. Thank you from the depths of my heart. It truly is a privilege to be part of the Unit 40 team. Sincerely, Deb Blankenship. And the last one, once again, thank you for the generous teacher appreciation gift. It is so thoughtful of you. I will certainly use it to purchase those much needed items while still in a semi-shelter at home state. I appreciate your gift and also wish to thank you for all the extra gifts and perks over the years. I am thankful for such a giving school district. Linda Richards. Okay. And we will move on to new business with, we have Shelley that's going to join us over the phone to talk about the Consolidated District Plan.
Hello?
Shelley, Mark.
Yes. Hi there.
I have you on speakerphone and I have the microphone down. So
Okay.
we're in the we're here to talk about the Consolidated District Plan and a couple other items.
Okay.
Shared a lot of information in the packet for the Board of Education. So would you want to share additional information on the Consolidated District Plan? And then also there's a couple other plans in there as well.
Right. So basically, annually, the state board requires that when you use or you're given federal dollars, you have plans that go with those dollars. And so we have to annually renew those plans. So the federal dollars are your title dollars, Title I, Title II, Title IV, and then IDEA, which is your special ed dollars. And then if you've got schools that have school improvement grants, those dollars as well, because those are considered federal dollars. So that's what all of those plans are, just kind of a, they want to know what you're going to use the dollars for in general, but then also what they want to know is just very basically, how are you going to run your run the education in your district and coordinate all the different funds that kind of come in and out of the school district. So that's what the Consolidated Plan, the school-wide title plans, and school improvement plans are all for.
Are there any questions for Shelley in regards to the any of the funding or you have IDEA, title, and school improvement plans, those three plans?
I didn't
see it. in the
One thing I
packet.
didn't mention was the state board requires that our local school board approve those plans before they'll approve the upcoming fiscal year's dollars. So the school board, our school board has to approve it. And then once they approve it, then we submit the plans after that. And then the state board approves them, and then the state board basically allows us to apply for those funds.
Were there any questions for Shelley? No? Okay. We would just need a motion to approve the Unit 40 Consolidated District Plan, school title plans, and the EJHS School Improvement Plan.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Robin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Roll call.
Jill Winling,
Yes.
Jane Mullenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone,
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Beck is also going to go over the science textbook purchases.
Yes, so you, back in May, you approved some of the science book purchases already. These are basically the remainder of the purchases because all of our science grades 6 through 12 basically were under review for new books for next year. So the first one you'll see is grade 6 through 8 science. And the second one that you'll see in the handout is the biology. And the thing I just wanted to point out between those two is that the teachers, when they were trying to decide what they wanted, one of the things that was important to them was just the articulation from grade 6 through 8, then up into grades 9 through 12. And so that's why you see both. They went with Pearson for both to try to help with the articulation. For this, grade 6 through 8 science, just a little bit of extra information about that. The way that particular product works is it's not like a 6th grade science book, a 7th grade science book, and an 8th grade science book. They're made up of modules, so you can put the different modules at whatever grade level you want. So it's not in a big bound textbook, and the teachers liked that because then they would be able to select which modules they wanted at each grade level. So that Elevate Science is that encompasses all 3 grade levels. And then, so after that was the biology, and then you've got investigative science, and then you have chemistry too. So those 4 that you should have had in your packet, those should wrap up our science selections for the upcoming year, and then they'll be held as our main curriculum and until we go through the adoption again.
Shelley,
Are there any questions on those items?
Robin has a question.
what is,
Oh, sure, go
what
ahead.
is typically that adoption cycle? Like how many years are we talking here?
I think, without pulling it up, I think I have it on a 6 or 7 year cycle. It's ideal to be on a 6. That's really tight for just budgeting, and it's really tight because basically the teachers turn around, and once they kind of get used to the product, you're looking at another product. But the reason for that is that most companies have their online subscriptions run like on a 6-year subscription. So even if we went and stretched it to 8 or 9 years, you're then just doing like a 1-year renewal after that for the online products. So we're looking at most likely a 7-year, if not 8-year adoption cycle. It all gets adjusted depending on what's going on fiscally with the state too.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions regarding the science textbook purchases? Okay. And hearing none, we need a motion to approve the science textbook purchases for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kathleen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
second by Robin. Roll call.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Jill Winley.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Beck is also going to go over the 2020-2021 school year planning update.
Before we get started, let me just share a little bit of information. We anticipate, and I think I shared this previously, but we anticipate further guidance from the governor's office and ISBE here probably by the end of the week or early next week. I think that that will give us a little bit better direction. We have a curriculum committee meeting set for July 1st. So that'll be a major discussion point there. But I just wanted to put that out there before Shelley starts. But if you could, go ahead, Shelley.
Oh, sure. So what we've done so far is we've done some research just in general on, best practices in remote learning. We've also looked at feedback from our staff, our technology, our IT staff, our parents, administrators, and board members. So we've tried to compile all that feedback to try to determine, reflecting on what we just went through, if we have to do remote learning, what are some things that we can learn from or keep and continue? So some things that we're going to include in a general plan. So right now I'm talking generally because, as Mark just mentioned, we don't know for sure what the guidance is going to be in like a face-to-face or remote setting for August. So we just need to plan for, in general, if we do remote learning again, what are some guiding principles in our district? So some of the major items that came out were that we really need to continue focusing in remote learning and growth by introducing new concepts and skills according to the grade level standards. And just like we do with face-to-face school, we're going to strive to meet the needs of all students to prepare them for their future worlds and to provide students with a challenging and rewarding experience. The items that came out from the feedback as our priority goals for remote learning, future remote learning, would be that the new content and skills are introduced with practice, feedback, support, and assessment. Assignments and assessments will occur to advance the knowledge and skills of students. Grades will be recorded in a grade book for report card purposes. Instructional opportunities that are provided should allow for differentiation, assessment, and feedback just as they would in a traditional face-to-face school setting. The plan respects students, staff, families, and administration and strives to do no harm. Procedures are well communicated so that all parties understand implementation and expectations. Another item that is, I feel, important because you as a board have worked on your goals. Most people, when they were surveyed, felt like the remote learning aligns most closely to your existing board goals that are related to student learning and programs. So those three goals that you have under that. And then there are some obviously ancillary goals with personnel, finances, and community and district relations, but the strongest connection is obviously to students and their learning and the programs that enhance their learning. Obviously, there are some concerns, and I mean, it should go without mentioning, but I think it's important just to state it, that remote learning is just simply not ideal. It's not ideal for the students, it's not ideal for the staff, and it's not ideal for parents. But remote learning may be something that we have to do when we don't have a choice in. So again, it's a process that we'll have to go through. We'll have to be mindful, of course, of parents working from home with children trying to do school from home. And that would include our staff trying to work from home and teach from home with their own children at home, learning and remote learning. It can get very complicated quickly if you're in that kind of a situation. Of course, we've got situations also where if we're going to try to carry out those priority goals, there's an equity factor there as well. If we are trying to work through the technology committee to try to make sure that we've got devices and connectivity to try to provide as much equitable access as we can to all of our students in our school district. So we've got some obstacles there. Another large obstacle, I would say, is especially at the start of the year, it was a unique situation. We ended the year in remote learning. We did not begin the year in remote learning. The benefit there, if there is a benefit, is that the students and the teachers were able to really establish relationships, rapport, routines, procedures for several months of the school year. And so when we went into remote learning, there was a great deal of familiarity, rapport, and relationship between the students and the teachers. And so the challenge would be, if the year begins in remote learning, is trying to establish those relationships between the teachers and the students when it's all being done remotely. So that will be a bit of a challenge there. So some of the things that we're looking at to further define how remote learning will roll out in our district is that the direct instruction will have strong teacher modeling, guided practice opportunities with feedback, independent practice with feedback, and then it's followed by assessment, and it should be cyclical or ongoing. And so we're looking at the delivery platforms, or how do you deliver that remotely. And I believe we've chosen for preschool through third grade a platform called Seesaw, and then grades 4 through 12 will use Google Classroom. Some other items that we're looking at, and we will further define, are the classroom environment. There are a lot of things that we already have in our district and our school handbooks that will continue to be implemented, whether we're in face-to-face or a remote setting of some kind. But because remote learning is not face-to-face, there are things that we'll have to consider how does that look? Handbook, classroom environment, discipline, and that kind of thing goes. We're also looking more specifically then at trying to define, what is it for new concepts and skills, not just a review of what was already taught, but introducing brand new concepts and skills. How is that best done in a remote setting? And then along with that, how is feedback and support given while students are acquiring new concepts and skills? How is that feedback and support best given to make sure that they're getting that corrective feedback if it's needed, so that we're working toward mastery. And then once students have been given adequate feedback and maybe some individualized support or some group support, and then looking at what the assessment would look like and taking grades and that kind of a thing. We also are looking at a lesson plan template. When you go to school to become a teacher, there's pretty basic lessons, lesson formats, structure that most people learn how to use whenever they're running a classroom. But in remote learning, we felt like we probably need to just kind of review some of that, still following along with the basic guidelines of the old school Madeline Hunter format. But are there things that we need to make sure that we specify in remote learning that may just be a gut instinct, or it's just innate in a teacher in a face-to-face setting? We just need to make sure we pull that out and make it intentional in a remote setting as well. And then as far as, let's see, we're also looking at trying to make sure that we, help the students understand what their expectations are, the parents, what their role could be, the staff, what their role and expectations would be, and administration as well, so that everybody understands the whole process and how it should roll out in our district a little bit better than, when we were thrown into it back in March. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I think there's a lot of questions, but
I probably can't answer the biggest questions that are out there.
no, I think from a standpoint, realistically, I believe that there's going to be some requirements that are going to be very hard for a district, and I think we're probably going to get the same from a district's perspective. We're going to get the same guidance as we got before. Here are the parameters, but yet you have local control. So how far and what that means is really going to be a discussion and decision at the board level. I think some of the things that do play a role in that are, liability issues and making sure that insurance things happen. We've had these discussions temporarily about, if we follow the parameters, insurance should be fine. But what if we don't? Exactly. What impact is that? I'm not saying that's the choice. I'm just trying to throw those things are out there. I really see 3 options moving forward. It could change next week, but 3 options. One is we start on time, as we did when we started last year, that we have face-to-face learning. Or we'll start at a remote learning where we will not be in school, and it'll be how we ended the year with obviously major changes. Or we'll do some sort of blended where we may start the year and then be off for a couple of weeks. It just kind of depends. And I don't know. I mean, blended could be where some districts are talking about having a schedule, an A-B schedule, where you have freshmen, sophomores coming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you just alternate. Well, that's fine until you have multiple students in your family at different levels. And is that the same at K through 5? So there's a lot of questions and a lot of direction that, the guidance will probably give us a direction, whether the district wants to go that way 100%. I think that's what we're going to talk with the curriculum committee about to bring it to the full board. So there's a lot of things up in the air. There's not a lot of time, but there's been a lot of work in regards to feedback on the surveys. They were all over the place. Some positive, some not so. Again, I think Shelley's biggest point, and I think we've talked about this, I know it in our discussions, is we'd rather not do remote learning. I don't think anybody, well, there may be some kids that like it. But there's a place and a role for that. But especially when you talk about relationships are the number one thing that between teachers and students. And that's hard to do when you don't have school. And so that affects everything. So our staff has stepped up and did step up and will continue to, but we may have to look at some modification of our schedule. Maybe we get out if we're going to have, because I firmly believe we'll have parents and families that may not send their children, even if we're open. So now we have to teach the students that are there, plus the ones that are home on remote. So how do we do that? How does our staff do that? We got to give them the time to do that. So is that, maybe we look at our schedule and we don't have a full day once a week? I don't know. Those are things to think about, things that we probably haven't thought about before. And so anyway, so.
Do we have any ideas? I know you maybe don't want to share those, but we're looking at, that's going to come quickly, especially I can see the combination learning being a real push from the state level. So that to me is going to be the hardest to plan. So should those be the top considerations and how that will work logistically with buses and people and multi-grade level families and all of that, I would say start with the hardest first.
Well, yes, different levels have different requirements and are going to have different challenges, right? Your high school versus your grade school. So yeah, we're going to have to address those issues. And I think you're right. The first and the toughest ones are going to be that blended ones. And that's going to be probably at our higher level. When I say higher, I'm talking about grade level, 6 through 12, more so at the high school than maybe junior high, but it'll be at the junior high as well. So I don't know. Shelley, do you have any, I don't know if you heard some of the comments or not. Shelley?
No, I don't think I have anything more to
Oh,
add.
okay.
Mark, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
just wonder.
No,
if
I
there
don't think I
were-
have any
there
more
were
to
other
add unless there are other
conversations.
questions.
Yeah, there's that. I think it was brought up was, have there been actual conversations in regards to how
Well,
that
the
blended?
different like hypothetical schedules.
Well, not so much schedules, but just
Oh.
addressing the blended portion of that. One of the things that a lot of effort's been spent on so far is trying to train staff, because that's a major part of this is having the skills to be able to handle blended. And it doesn't matter what schedule that is if they don't have the skills. So that's one thing that's been on the front burner. So those items can be done simultaneously. All I'm saying is we've got to be cognizant of time.
Right.
So, and a lot of other things we'll have to be cognizant of.
Things should become a lot clearer in the next week.
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
When the ISBE actually sends its guidance out.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I figured I'll wait till after this. You guys have your meeting July 1st, because that will probably answer a lot of the questions I have.
Well, I'm not sure. We'll try to answer. I don't know. There'll be,
Well, Angie, I think that was Angie. Am I right?
yes.
Okay. If you've got things that I probably can't answer your questions right now, but if you just have questions that you want me to be aware of or us to be aware of, certainly you can ask them now, or the ones that you think are kind of foremost in your mind, or you can send me an email with some of the questions so we make sure that we address some of that.
I will definitely do that.
Okay.
But there was one question I had that when we're talking about connectivity. Is there any plan for that? Have we heard anything more about that being down, towards the south or other areas in the district that are having trouble?
Technology committee, I think, is going to report out on that a little bit. Jason's got information. That's coming up.
Gotcha. All right. I'll wait. Shelley, thank you so very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So we will go ahead and move on to the board policies. There were quite a few in there that we posted last month. Was there any public comments?
No.
Was there anything from the board regarding those? Okay. No, we would just need a motion to adopt the following board policies as presented. They're listed there. I won't read them. So if we can get a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Kathleen. Give a second.
Second.
Okay, Jill. Roll call.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Jill Wendling.
Yes.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the property casualty insurance renewal.
Okay, each year we have to update our property casualty coverage. This year, we actually had a really good year, very few claims. However, we're looking at a 10% increase in property casualty, and that is based on trends in the educational field across the country. Unit 40 has not had any experience in those areas that are hitting schools hard, but Illinois has had a lot of experience in those areas. And so we're experiencing that 10% increase. That being said, we would look at bidding property casualty, but we were advised Bush Human Resources helps us make sure that they go through and check every part of our policies and make sure that everything that's in there should be in there according to law. And so we've been working with them, and they have recommended we wait. I think I told the board this last year, but I'm just bringing it up again. we wait until the 3-year junior high job is done to rebid it because companies are coming higher because we're in the middle of that process. So they want us to wait until that's done before we rebid the whole package. So the renewal from Affiliated this year is at $227,253. And then for our earthquake umbrella policy, it would be an additional $6,756. So if everybody was in the junior high, I wouldn't worry about earthquake insurance, but
Really.
not all buildings are built that way.
Any questions regarding that? And hearing none, we need a motion to approve the fiscal year 21 property casualty insurance renewals from affiliated insurance agencies in the amounts of $227,253 and $6,756 for the fiscal year 20 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Steve.
I'll second it.
Jane. Roll call.
Steve Bone,
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Joe Winley,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes.
The dairy and bakery bids.
Sure. Every year we send out bids for both dairy and bakery. In the last couple of years, we've had very few bidders. This year we sent out the dairy bid to 5 different companies, and we received 1 bid back from Prairie Farms, who's had our bid or had our milk purchases for several years now. And Denise Anderson will tell you she's very pleased with everything that we get from them and how they've handled themselves the last few years. So we would recommend that we accept the Prairie Farms bid for dairy product. And then when it comes to bakery products, we sent out to Bimbo Bakeries, Aunt Millie's, and Lewis Bakeries, and only received a bid back from Aunt Millie's, which was the same thing last year. And so again, we've used Aunt Millie's for several years, and we would recommend that we accept the bid from Aunt Millie's for the bakery goods. So
We would need a motion to accept the dairy bid from Prairie Farms Dairy and the bakery bid from Aunt Millie's for
I'll
the
make that
2020.
motion.
Okay. Motion by Robin. Give a second. I'll second. Roll call.
Angie Byers,
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Joe Winley,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the technology purchase.
Prior to that, why don't we talk a little bit about the technology committee? You had asked about connectivity, and we had a discussion about that. We've had a couple meetings here at the beginning of June. So, Jason, would you kind of share some of the information you shared on the connectivity with?
Sure. So we've looked at a lot of different things. We were approached by a fiber company who's running fiber through the local communities down there. And they had fiber in Watson. They were 3 miles outside of Mason and 8 miles outside of Edgewood with their fiber. What they were recommending is that the district purchase and run the fiber those additional 11 miles to get into those communities. The issue with that for the district is it's $20,000 per mile. So that's $220,000 in fiber runs to get into the community. At that point, we would have to rent space on either a water tower or a different form of the tower. And it would cost $16,000 per tower to put radio broadcasting equipment up to then broadcast our signal into each of the households of our students. And we would have to spend $400 per student household to equip them with the receiver to receive that internet through the district. So long story short, it was $300,000 pretty much right out of the gates, and then $400 per student household to equip them with that for something they anticipated to be 70 to 75% success rate, given the valleys, the peaks, the trees. So we pretty much deem that as a no-go. We can't do that for that kind of money, and only ensure 70% of our kids could get it. So we are now looking at the possibility of Verizon hotspot devices that would go into the laptops. And we're trying to find a definite price on what they would cost us up front. It does look like they may be free right now for schools. And then the district would pay $34 a month per device with a 6-month minimum on that contract per device. So that's accessibility wise. Now, again, Verizon hotspots are not going to work great in certain areas, but they might, it's kind of like your cell phone. If your cell phone gets a good signal, the hotspot's going to get a good signal. If you get a semi-good signal, it's the same thing as whatever your phone gets. So
But right now, that looks like our best option.
right now, that's the only viable option that we have. And one thing the technology committee talked about is what we believe would be needed in number could go up or down depending on if we offer this. So if we say we're going to put a mobile hotspot on every device we give out, if it's needed, we don't know how many people will say, well, when we did remote learning in the spring, I went way over my internet every month. I went one of the schools, which could take our survey we did and take that number much higher. So we're just trying to figure out numbers wise what we might need.
I had seen somewhere, I read it, I don't even remember what school district it was, and they had like a mobile bus that had, is that something that we could also, that we could look into? I guess the people would have to drive to the bus, but if we had something sitting like in Mason or in Edgewood, because like I have a Verizon jetpack at home. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I only have so much. It's not unlimited. So it kind of.
Well, one of the ideas that we started with was, at least my thought was, could we at least provide one spot in each town, right? At the community center or at the old school or whatever. So in the worst case scenario, people could drive into that spot and at least, download and things like that. So what I have heard is some districts have taken their buses and set them, put some sort of repeater and set them in certain areas. Don't know the size of those districts and all that. So I guess it's something we could look at.
The issue with that is, and when I talked to that fiber company about the same thing, is the further out you send that radio frequency, the more it dies down. And so trying to send it from Central, which would be our furthest south building, all the way to Edgewood, through all the trees and the hills, by the time it gets there, it's going to be a very poor quality and it's going to be hard for them to access it because you're sending it through radio waves versus running through fiber underground. If we were running it through fiber, it would get there and be perfect. And then we could broadcast it out from there and it would still be of high quality. But that's the issue. And that's why it's not worked with Edgewood up to this point. We've been trying to get it into the community center down there, but there's no fiber in that community. And so there's no viable way for us to get a good signal to Edgewood for that to happen.
I think one of the things too we have to think about is how educationally sound it is if we go back to remote learning. I know one of the things that we talked about in the technology committee meeting, I believe, that they have learned is that especially for the younger students, like K-5, it's really important that the students have that face-to-face connection with the teacher every day. Otherwise, they became very disengaged from school. So if you're talking about just having a bus that people can drive up to download, for older kids, that might work okay. But for the young kids, that would be really hard. That really wouldn't give a family the opportunity for their child to have that connection with a student, with a teacher every day, which I think educationally is something in remote learning that Shelley and the people that have been working with her have been trying to figure out how to make the remote learning better if we have to do it.
Like Robin says, a lot of the really positive we got back was teachers who were doing Facebook Lives or Facebook posts with their classes. So they created a class that was just their class's parents in a Facebook group. And then every day they put out reading a book or something like that so the kids could see them every day. And that was the best feedback we got. So we got to figure out a way to do something like that.
So that's the connectivity piece. We're going to do the best we can as a district to try to help support that. This evening, one of the things that we met with the committee this past week, Thursday, as a matter of fact, in regards to looking at assessment. So when we have assessment, all assessment, state assessment, our MAP assessment is now online. So when that happens in a school at different levels and at different have to use those devices for the testing, which then does not allow for instruction to continue on a regular basis as they have without the assessment. So one of the things the committee talked about as a first step was to try to cover a couple items. One, as assessment, because we start with assessment at the beginning of the year with MAP. So we make a base, and not just MAP, but make baselines, and then we continue to assess throughout the year to show growth or not show growth. And so then you have your state assessments in the spring. So it really needs to be something from the get-go. The idea would be to purchase enough devices to be able to assess so instruction could continue in the regular setting. And so went and talked with each of the buildings, gathered that information. That information's in front of you. It's a total of 410 devices that would be used. And then also storage carts. And this would allow, if we're one-to-one, or excuse me, if we're face-to-face, the idea of being able to continue with assessment without affecting instruction on a regular basis. If for some reason we're in remote learning, then we have additional devices that can be utilized as well. This is different from the technology committee. We talked about one-to-one as well. These devices would be for instruction and for testing. They're a little stronger, have a little more lifespan and memory and things like that than if we did a one-to-one, which the cost would probably be lower than what we have here. But these are for instruction to begin with, and the next process would probably talking about moving down the road with the technology department, or excuse me, committee, is looking at how do we expand that. So the idea was to bring this before the full board. The 410 laptops we just purchased earlier, and it was May or April, 180. So we're using that number, and then storage carts using that number. And so we estimate that to be right at $250,000 for those 410 laptops plus carts.
I might add a couple of things to what Mark said. We had the principals in this meeting, so we were getting some information from them about the assessment and what they really needed. One of the things that came up, as Mark said, we talked about different kinds of devices from these laptops that are similar to what we have in carts already that can be used on a daily basis. They'll withstand that kind of treatment, as opposed to, say, a Chromebook, which is much cheaper, half the cost or less, but may not withstand that. And one of the things, the feedback that we got from the principals was that, first of all, they wanted to be sure, because we were just talking about how many more do you need in your building, because they already have some. They have some laptops for testing. But in the past, they've had to even bring them from other buildings. Like when the junior high tests, they'll have to bring laptops from the high school, as well as stop all of their computer classes so that those computers can be used too. So, I mean, it was really a big shuffling act. It wasn't just the kids in our building can't work. It's we're transporting laptops from building to building in order to test our kids. So it was there were some places that really were in dire straits. But one of the things that they did mention that was important was that every child that's being tested is being tested on the same kind of device. So in other words, let's say at Southside, we didn't want to, they already have so many laptops they use, so we don't want to complete the number they need by putting iPads in or Chromebooks, because then the testing itself doesn't become reliable, because they're different devices. They have to be the same kind of device. That was something the principals felt very strongly about. So that's why we said, since what we have already in place in each building to start with, what we have in place is laptops. That's why we need to stay with laptops for this assessment piece. And as Mark said, this was just the first step. You know, we can still use these. We can use these also to help us with remote learning if we have to go that route, even though that's probably not going to be enough. But at that point, maybe that's the time we're going to look at something that is a little bit less expensive, like maybe a Chromebook or something. So that's kind of why we ended up going this laptop route, because those are the devices we already have.
Well, it says here you're going to use this CARES grant fund. We've used, I think, our technology from the last time we used some of that money as well.
No,
No,
that technology
that
was in the budget.
That was in the
local,
budget?
local.
So are we going to have enough to cover this, or is this going to be both? The
No,
CARES fund and the local fund?
I feel we should be fine in the CARES grant for this purchase. I put in there if it didn't, then the district has until September of 21 to use the CARES money. Now, out of that CARES money, we've spent, we bought some equipment for cleaning.
Yeah, we budgeted about $52,000 for cleaning equipment, about almost $25,000 for staff development. This will be about $250,000, and then we'll need cleaning supplies, so product to spray into the rooms, things along those lines, and personal protective equipment being masks, gloves, things like that, which we'll have to buy in excess. So right now we're about $345,000 that we have down for CARES, and we'll have about $400,000 after we give the parochial schools their portion of that money. So, that, and not all that's been spent yet. That's an estimate of what we'll have to spend in the cleaning product and personal protective equipment in those areas. So we can cover these laptops with that CARES money.
Okay. The only reason why I ask is because I know we've taught that has been mentioned before. And I'm
Everybody brings that.
Everybody's going to run
It's
out
like
of
it's an
money.
endless pit of money.
I hear it a lot, but I really want to keep it in these certain areas because that's really what we need. So,
Okay. But we'll have enough to cover all the cleaning supplies that we'll need for the next year.
that's first and foremost. Yeah.
Were there any other questions regarding the laptop purchases?
Excuse me.
If not, we would need a motion to approve the technology purchase not to exceed $250,000.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Robin. Second, Steve. Roll call.
Robin Klosterman,
Yes.
Jill Wendling,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes, Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes. Moving on to the health insurance for next year. This is the Blue Cross.
Okay. We met several times. There was a insurance committee put together that consisted of Mr. Dome, myself, Jerry Cochran, who's kind of over the health insurance side and over on my side. Her new replacement, Kim Milbachler, was also a part of the insurance committee. And then also 2 representatives from the certified staff and the support staff were involved in that, along with Kate Pasalakwa from White's Insurance, was kind of our guide through putting together all the bid documents, all of that. And so we met several times. We received our information back, and if any of you would like, if you need something to read, those large binders and folders over there, it ends up being about this much information is what we got back on bid day. We had 5 different brokerage companies pick up the bid packets. Only one brokerage company brought anything back. That was Weiss Insurance. Inside their bid packet, they had bids from Health Alliance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, and there was one other. There were 4 companies who did. Really, only 2 of the companies were in the ballpark. 2 of them were much higher. The 2 in the ballpark were Health Alliance and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Both had very good plans, options, but when it came down to it, the committee talked about the network. Health Alliance has a network of about 43,000 doctors nationwide. Blue Cross Blue Shield has over 19,000 within 100 miles of Effingham. When we got to looking at the fine print in each of the policies, to use Health Alliance, we would have had to buy a third-party network in order to get St. Louis or Champaign or Mayo, places like that, which we could do. But then whenever it comes to the discounting, when you get your insurance bill, it always says this was the charge price, this was the negotiated discounted price, this is actually what you have to pay. Instead of getting the 45% discounted price on a third party, we would only get a 20% discounted price, which would means the claims that we'd be paying out as a district would go much higher. Well, when it's time to renew claims or your premiums for the next year, they look at the paid claims from the previous year, which means year 2, we'd be looking at potentially looking at much larger premiums if we did that. So in talking to the staff that was on the committee, they felt that Blue Cross Blue Shield came in with a no increase to premiums this year. So really no changes at all. And they felt like that was the best option, even though Health Alliance premiums were going to be a little lower. Well, were believed to be a little lower. They would not put their premiums in solid until after they got our last 3 months of this current year. And so those were set to change, which if, nobody went to the doctor for several months, and now everybody's trying to get in before this year's over. So we could see some increase there. So long story short, I'm probably talking too much. Blue Cross Blue Shield is the direction the committee chose to go, with a zero increase in premiums. So everything will stay the same as it was this previous year. And then Mr. Donda brought up a interesting note there. From 2017 to current, we've seen a 4.62% increase in health insurance. So that comes out to an average of 1.16% per year, which is outstanding when you look at overall what has happened in insurance industry and companies in our areas. So now some of those years where our rates went up and some years they went down, but our average is 4.62%. So we would recommend that we stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield for the upcoming year. And then the committee asked if we wanted to bid it again next year. That's always a possibility. We now know how to do it, and we'd probably do a much different, much smaller packet that we'd send out, but we have the ability now. So
Is there any
And you said
questions?
this was a unanimous
yes,
decision of your committee?
I went around the room and asked every person in the room, to give their thoughts, and every person said, "Stay where we're at, keep doing what we're doing."
Is there any more questions that we have? Okay, if not, we would need a motion to approve the Blue Cross Blue Shield self-insurance as health coverage for the 2020-2021 school year.
I'll make that motion.
Motion Kathleen. Roll call.
Joe Wendling,
Yes.
Jane Wellenberg.
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Can I share one more thing about the insurance, which was we not only bid self-insured, we also bid fully insured. There's been a lot of conversation over the years between the two. The fully insured rates were much higher than the self-insured. That was because the insurance company takes all the liability, where right now the district holds about $600,000 in liability. So there's a set number that the insurance pays up to, and then there's a $600 window. And if anything that falls inside that $600 window in claims, the districts are responsible for. And then once it goes over that, then the insurance company picks it up again. So when we looked at those different plans, self-insured was much higher, or fully insured was much higher than the self-insured. So this will stay self-insured, and the district will continue to carry that possible liability in extra claims should it go there. So I just want to make sure everybody understood that too. So
Thank you. Okay, the Facilities and Transportation Committee. We apologize. There's quite a few things on here.
I'll go quick. First thing in there is ELC has 2 HVAC units. I've talked to you numerous times in the last year about the 1986 HVAC units. 2 more of them are down. Well, one's down completely. One is struggling, but they heat and cool the cafeteria. Last year, that was a struggle. It was cold in there a lot. And so we would like to replace both of those and get them out. I think we'll be down to 4 1986 units left after this. So hopefully we can keep going. We're working with Ameren now for rebates on these, but our cost out of pocket for 2 new HVAC units through KCH Mechanical would be $13,870 installed.
Are there any questions? Okay, and hearing none, we would need a motion to approve the replacement of 2 HVAC units at ELC.
I'll make that motion.
By Robin. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Second, Jill. Roll call.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Jill Wendling.
Yes.
The weight room floor.
Yeah, the weight room floor at the high school, 22 years old, wear and tear. It's a lot similar to this floor here, how you have the 2-foot squares, but they fit together like puzzle pieces. And over time, they've stretched and been pulled, and now they're popping loose. And the floor underneath is the concrete over time, weights being dropped, so on, has also gotten smashed up pretty good. So we looked at replacing what's there with brand new, but we really can't do that because the concrete underneath it's crumbled up. We can't replace the individual pieces that are coming apart because it's all stretched. So we went to several weight room floor companies. We went to several flooring companies. And what we found is EAHC here locally has what they call dyno mats. It's actually what they use in farm facilities for cattle to walk on because they can't puncture it. It's about an inch thick mat that it has a lot of absorption to it. And so we are recommending putting the dyno mats over the top of the current floor that's there and keep that current floor in place, glued down to what concrete's left under there so that it's solid, and then put these mats on top for an extra barrier. Now, we looked at the doorways will fit, the thresholds will fit over that. There won't be a trip hazard, and it'll give us that much more security in there to keep from having that issue with the floor. So it's going to take a lot of them. I think it's 135 of these mats to do the whole weight room, but we could order them right away. We'll have them in and installed by the time school starts.
So what's the life expectancy of these mats?
Well, these, they say 30 years in a cattle
Cattle.
process. And they're thicker and they're more durable than what we have in there now. And what we have in there now lasted 22 years. So I would hope we get, 20, 25 years out of them. So when we looked at the actual people who make weight room floors, the price of that was much higher. But I think a lot of that is when COVID-19 hit, people started building home gyms, and you cannot get this flooring. The flooring is 6 months out. Weights are 6 months out. So I think, it's a supply and demand issue.
Is there any other questions? And hearing none, we need a motion to approve the EHS weight room floor replacement at a cost of $16,418.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jane. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Robin? Okay. Roll call.
Kathleen Smith, yes. Steve Bone.
Yes.
Angie Byers.
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Jill Wendling.
Yes.
Jane Willenberg.
Yes.
The ELC freezer and refrigerator.
ELC's freezer refrigerator has a bad refrigeration line inside of it. In order to get that refrigeration line fixed, Probst Refrigeration came in and gave us a price of $7,200 to fix the line. With that would be a 1-year warranty on that particular line. In looking at that and looking at the age of the unit, it's 24 years old. And we started looking at, well, we probably ought to think about a new one. What would a new one cost? And so we went out and did a request for proposals, received several back, and Ford Hotel Supply came in with a new unit at $22,185.80. So basically replacing one line would pay for a third of a new one. My fear is we replace that one line, we get going along and another line breaks. Now we're $7,200 into it again, and we could put a new unit in. So the new unit would have a 5-year warranty on all parts and labor. So we would recommend that we look at putting a new unit in from Ford Hotel Supply for the cost of $22,185.80.
Are there any questions? Okay, we would need a motion to approve the replacement of ELC freezer refrigerator.
I'll make that motion.
Robin,
A second.
second Kathleen, roll call.
Steve Bone,
Yes.
Angie Byers,
Yes.
Robin Klosterman,
Yes.
Joe Enling,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes.
The HHS slideshow.
I just thought it'd be nice for you to see a few pictures of the building. And Jane and Angie, you guys toured it today, so do you want to add some input on these? So there on the left-hand side, that's the office complex. You got, most of it got done last year. However, they've been touching it up. You can see they put up the new Mustang sign on the red wall there. That looks really sharp. On the right-hand side, that's the old part of the school, the 1938 or 39 part there. That's all the math hallways, a new bathroom. The bottom on the right is the chorus room in the basement. It's been repainted, and you know, if you toured the building, you would see there were a bunch of old radiator pipes that ran all over the ceiling in that chorus room, and all those are gone now. And you can see that large ductwork down the middle. That is the heat and air for that room now. It used to have 2 window air conditioners in it, and then it had radiator pipes that radiated heat down from the ceiling to keep it warm. Some outside work, you can see the steps and the new ramp in front of the main doors. Up there on top, you can see new windows. If you drive by the building, the windows are totally changing the look of the building, getting rid of that red plastic that was up there, and really changing it. And I think Angie and Jane can talk about what it's doing on the inside of the building and those rooms and the natural light that's coming in. Down below, it's just more pictures of the windows on the back, and then they removed the smokestack, which, you know, we were having issues with. It was starting to crumble, things were falling off of it, and so we were able to cut that down, and it looks very nice. Some pictures here. The one on the upper left looks like it might be cut off a little bit. That is one of the new locker rooms from inside the locker room. If you're ever down those locker rooms, they were very pieced together in the big. They actually look great right now. The lockers are done, waiting to be delivered, but we're waiting on the floors to get finished up. But they'll have the drop ceiling in them, and the locker rooms never had offices in them for the teachers, and so each of the locker rooms now has a nice office in there, so supervision won't be an issue. In the gymnasium, the ceiling is going to be painted in there, and then that picture there is to show the new windows. So there was always an issue with the windows in the gym because it would blind the kids. The sun in the morning and the afternoon would blind the kids on the floor. And so those windows over there always had black trash bags put over. So instead of doing that, we went ahead and went with a dark tinted window. So on the outside of the building, they look like all the other windows. But on the inside, they're tinted to where that's not going to happen with the kids on the floor. So it's a nice look inside. And then out front, the ticket booth area, that's all getting worked over. It's going to have a nice drop ceiling in it, and then be all freshly painted. And then you're looking at a door down on the end. There used to be two doors there. One into a storage closet, one into the men's restroom. That storage closet now became part of the men's restroom, and then the women's bathroom, which was from the pictures being taken, is now inside the gym where there used to be a small locker room. Much nicer setup, ADA accessible, and so it's going to be a lot nicer. The left picture is showing you the new resin flooring that's been put down in all the bathrooms, and so the second floor bathrooms have that down, as well as the basement bathrooms. they're coming along nicely. So there's never been bathrooms in the basement at the junior high, and there will be now. Upstairs, the middle picture, that's the classroom that was band and then a teacher's lounge, and now it's where the treatment and learning facility has their reintegration classroom. And so it's got the new windows, it'll be getting the drop ceiling here soon, and then this new flooring. There on the right is the boys' locker room. You can kind of see the coach's office in the corner, and then how it comes out from there. This is the same room. The picture on the left was the kitchen area of home ec before the flooring was put down, and then you can see it with the new flooring put down in there as well. So big change there. They got all new cabinets from Stevens Industries, completely redone. And then this is the cafeteria. It was a concrete floor all year, and then you can see the flooring there. See, if you look at the big circle there in the middle, there's a small green circle, and then right above it, there's actually a circular light that they put in that really adds some, just adds extra design to that room, breaks it up, makes it look really nice. This is the mechanical room. So the picture on the left was when all the steam boilers were in the room. The picture on the right is all of those gone. Believe it or not, it only took them 2 days to take all of that out one 36-inch door. So I would have liked to have been there to see that, but I was on vacation that day. So second floor corridor, you can see where they ripped that old ceiling that was up there. It's all come down. They're ready to put the new drop ceiling in. The floor is ready to be put in. And then there's a picture of the restroom with the new resin flooring in there upstairs. And then the science labs, these are going to be tremendous from what they had. All the science labs now have, you can see plumbing on the walls under the windows. And you can kind of see in those two pictures, the left picture and the middle picture, the difference in the windows. The left picture is the current setup, and then the middle picture is the new windows and how they're set up. You can see the amount of light that's able to come in. Well, you don't have a window air conditioner sitting in the way either. So it's really nice. And then they put sinks in underneath the windows so that there'll be multiple sinks along the outside wall, so that they do dissections, things like that. They'll have that access. And then the picture on the right is the art room. And the work being done there, the windows are making a huge difference. And then that large pipe down the middle is again heat and air. And then the breezeway, it's no more, it's gone. Inside the breezeway, that bottom picture on the left is the ramping system coming out of the main building, and allows for a wheelchair then to roll down and be on the same level as the small gym building, which is now where we built 2 very nice classrooms for students with severe disabilities, and we have a classroom for OTPT on that side as well. Inside the breezeway, the bottom picture on the right shows you a classroom and a doorway. That classroom will be the speech teacher. The speech teacher also does community speech, so students from the parochial schools come over there and receive speech. So they will be able to pull right outside that doorway. The teacher can see them through the window, go around, let them in. They receive services and go right back out to the van. So the breezeway is going to be a very nice addition, getting kids in and out. And that's kind of it. There's a whole lot more I could show you, but I wanted you to at least see that. And Jane and Angie, feel free to share anything you want. But
Well, first, thanks for taking us on that tour today. But just the windows alone, like you
Yes.
wouldn't think that the windows
I
could
can
do
imagine.
that big of a difference. But it was amazing how much. I mean, I would have stood in the science room and just stared out the window the whole time because it was just there was a lot more light. It doesn't look like a dungeon anymore.
I'm gonna be sitting scared.
It's like a problem.
Yeah.
well, we ordered really nice blinds too. So.
And then the light fixtures he was talking about in the cafeteria above the circles. I mean, it's just a really nice focal point. Looks really well down there. They're doing a great job. It looks like they're staying on task. There's a lot of work, obviously, but they're
When's
getting
the
there.
date? They're supposed to be done July, did you say?
July 15th, we're going to do a punch list walkthrough, and then they have until August 1st to kind of knock out those things. And that'll give us approximately 3 weeks to get it set up the way we want it with our staff. So
The outside looks great. I saw the windows today.
Yeah.
And they'll start, we have the other project going on in regards to behind the,
Mhm.
all the bollards are in, when it rains, it pushes them back. They can't.
So is the new drive in the front? Is that part of the summer? Is that? next
yes,
summer?
that'll happen. They've been waiting on the window guys to knock out those windows across the front so that they're not working on top of each other. So they'll start on that drive now.
And then we still have the driveway and the parking lot in the back,
Mhm.
but obviously with the rain, it's going to take some more time.
The other thing was, this is kind of just a thank you to, is it John Limes? Yeah. Okay. So there was some trim, I think it was original trim. And John, who is on our maintenance department, went through and actually matched the trim because we weren't going to be able to find that. That's what Jason had told me. So just wanted to tell him thank you for doing that because that I mean, you couldn't tell the difference. So it was very nice.
Yeah. They came to us and said, there's no way we can match this trim. Nobody makes this. This is original 1939 trim. And so I was talking to John Limes about it, one of our maintenance guys. He said, I can build that. And in no time, he had it set up and built and actually made over 400 feet of this trim. And had it all done last winter, put away. And this year they're putting it up and you cannot tell a difference between the trims. So
That's great. I think these teachers are going to be very excited to get back into their classrooms. I think the ones on the south end, I'd be a little jealous because theirs isn't done yet, but it'll get there. So it's very nice. But, okay. We will go ahead and move on to the EHS prom and graduation plan.
I just wanted to bring up, Mr. Roberts couldn't be here this evening, but at a previous engagement. But, we have Friday, the 17th of July. We had planned for a prom, and then also July 19th planned for graduation. We don't know, realistically, I don't know about the prom, whether that we'll be able to handle or have the prom. One of the ideas, though, that I shared with you in the packet is that having the court together, making sure we get pictures and things like that. That's the least we can do. But actually having a formal prom probably will not occur. The question is in on the planned graduation. At this time, we have regular ceremony planned. They just came out this afternoon, I think, in regards to some of the guidance. I saw got something around 2:00. I have not had a chance to look through that. But one of the items I've talked with Mr. Roberts and I have talked about is whether we can continue with an indoor ceremony or not. And then the idea, if we could not have an indoor ceremony, we could have a virtual ceremony, which a lot of districts are going to, or we could look at an outside option. Outside option, I don't know what those parameters are. Like I said, this afternoon they came up, but that could be a possibility for that Sunday, the 19th. But that's something that we're going to look at a little closer now that we have those parameters. So I just want to bring the board up to speed on that and kind of go from there. But I don't think, do not believe that we're going to be able to hold the prom, and we'll try to be on the graduation side. We'd like to have the ceremony. If not, we can have a virtual ceremony, or we can try to look at an outside option, understanding it still has to meet the requirements for phase 4. So that information will be forthcoming, and we just want to make sure that everybody's up to speed on that.
Is there any questions for Mark? Not hearing any. This is now the opportunity to share by board members. Do they have anything they'd like to share? Okay, I have one thing. Bringing up the graduation. I obviously had several questions about our drive-through ceremony thing or parade. But I'll be the first to admit, I was very impressed. Mr. Roberts did a really good job putting that together. Very smooth, went really fast. So I just wanted to tell Mr. Roberts, thank you. Thank you to those who helped. All the guidance counselors were there that day. The secretaries were there. Mr. Dunn was there. I think there were several people who were there. So just wanted to tell them thank you for putting that on for our seniors. They did a really good job. And also Mr. Leisure, he did the sound. Yeah, so we did very well.
Yeah, I had some, I was going to say
Oh.
something if somebody didn't, but I tried to, and I did. I greeted every car that came through. The line for the parade was actually a lot longer than expected, which was good. It went all the way out past Walgreens and so anyway, heard positive comments. It doesn't meet a regular ceremony, but everybody was very appreciative of at least having this and having the opportunity that they could participate. And we had great weather. It was unbelievable weather, so that helped. But it was a very positive impact, and I wanted to say thank you to the staff because there was a lot of work that went into that, and a lot of people stepped up. So,
And the pictures were fast, weren't they?
that was the fastest
I
part
was
when
going to
we were
say, I know we
concerned.
talked about them being 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then I saw that
The
NEB had posted
Mr.
like
Robertson mentioned
35
he goes
minutes or something.
trying to figure out how many minutes or how many seconds it take for. That was the smoothest part where the kids got out, they started walking, and she had the pictures, and they moved on. The parades took an hour or over an hour, and then the pictures took 30 minutes. So
That's great.
it was good. It was a good day.
I was going to comment on the, again, to thank all of the staff as far as the food service that we provided. The lunches, I think there was an article in one of the papers about it. I thought was really good that highlighted some of the cooks and the volunteers that distributed and everything. So I feel really good about our district that we were able to do that, and all of the people that stepped up and really made that possible.
All right. If there isn't anything else, we would need a motion to enter into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jill,
Second.
second by Robin. Roll call.
Angie Byers,
Yes.
Robin Klosterman.
Yes.
Joe Winling,
Yes.
Jane Willenberg,
Yes.
Kathleen Smith, yes, Steve Bone.
Yes.
At this time, we'll be entering into closed session.
Why don't you go ahead and step out, and I'll come get you, please.